Hello, everybody. Welcome to Replay. I am Kyle Hilliard here with Brian Shea. What's up, Brian?
Hey, I am excited to be here. It's a rare appearance for me on Replay.
That's right. Yeah, actually, I think the last time you were on, it was you and me. What were we playing? Oh, Zelda.
We were playing, Phantom Hourglass.
That's right. And people always talk about how Heavenly Sword is the PlayStation 3's Phantom Hourglass.
Many people are saying this.
That's right. They just won't shut up. But yeah, no, we're playing Heavenly Sword this week. A game that I genuinely love. I like this game a lot. Actually, you know what? I'm going to scale that back a little bit. I don't know if I would say love. I like this game a lot. I have played through this game in full twice in my life. On separate occasions. Like right when it came out, and then like a year or two later, I ended up playing through it again. And the reason that I wanted to play it today for Replay is because Hellblade 2 came out this week. And this was ostensibly Ninja Theory's first big game, Heavenly Sword. It's not their first game, but it is the first big one. And it was also like the first, even preceding Naughty Dog and Uncharted and stuff like that, the first big, like, we are going to really emphasize performance capture and facial capture, and we're going to work with Andy Serkis, who's an expert at this stuff, because this is like post Lord of the Rings, So like, even though Naughty Dog does incredible work with performance capture and their games look incredible, I still sort of think of Ninja Theory as like the ones who kind of were emphasizing it first, right? Doing it first isn't accurate, but the ones who are like, this is an important part of game development, is making sure faces look really cool and like we can capture actors acting. And Heavenly Sword was like, to me, like the first one, like the first one where I really took notice and was impressed by that.
Yeah, I never played this game. I mean, I've only played like half of Hellblade 1. I've not dove into Hellblade 2 yet because I've been busy with like other review games, but like, yeah, it's interesting because I have like so much respect for Ninja Theory.
Yeah,
I almost said Team Ninja, but
that's never happened before. No one ever confuses the two. Action game developers with ninja in their name. No one would ever mix those up.
We got a highlighted message from Oscar Rio.
What's up, Oscar?
What's going on, Oscar? Hey, Kyle and Brian. It's Oscar Rio from Jersey City, New Jersey. I'm originally from Dominican Republic, have a spectrum of autism, and was a reader of the Game Informer magazine. I'm still having the old magazines. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. I really appreciate you reading and keeping your collection. That's great. I have a pretty good collection as well. I saw somebody actually on the Game Informer subreddit share their old collection, and I was like, I even responded to it. I was like, I'm pretty sure you have more issues than I do.
Really?
It's a pretty impressive collection.
I definitely have at least one of every issue that I have a byline in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I have that except for one, like it's just off camera, over my left shoulder. I have a bookshelf with all the issues I've contributed to, and I'm missing one issue of Official Xbox Magazine, and I regret it to this day, from when I was freelancing for Official Xbox Magazine like 11 or 12 years ago, and I didn't get an issue of like one of them that I collaborated with somebody on an article, and now I've looked and I can't find it on eBay or anything.
I was about to say, there's got to be a way to get that. I know the Game History Foundation will sometimes send folks magazines and stuff, but oh, that's funny. Yeah, there was one, honestly, I don't remember the name of the magazine, but there was a European magazine that I reviewed a DS game for prior to Game Informer, which was very random, and they like shipped me a copy of it from across the pond, which was probably quite expensive, but I was very appreciative. So I have that, and then everything else is Game Informer. I never made my way into any other magazines. So
yeah, I still remember being at the Dallas-Fort Worth airport on a connection, and Jelly Banana 99. They were still figuring out hair physics.
Yeah, that's true. But hey, you know what? Not to derail us from what we're talking about, but I remember playing this and looking at her face and being like, that looks like skin to me. Like, I feel like I can see pores, like this shot right here, because they specifically were like, we're going to let you really see her face,
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, why is it giving me chapter select? That's weird.
Did you? I mean, do you choose chapter 1?
No, okay, that's just how they framed it. Oh, that's a little funky. Like I said, I was worried that maybe my old save was on here, but it is not.
Can you go to chapter 2?
No, I can't. So we're all good.
Okay. We've had several comments about both of us having mustaches on this.
I know, that's so funny that you bring that up, because I asked you to come on, and you're like, I do have a mustache. Is that a problem? One of ours is coming along better than the others. I won't say whose. This is about as mustache as I get. This, honestly, it doesn't get much more mustachy than this, so I need to get rid of this, because this just looks kind of junky.
I trimmed it into a mustache because we talked last night. You appeared on my All Things Nintendo podcast, and I had a beard then, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna get rid of this and go to a mustache, and thinking I was not going to have to appear on any videos, and here we are.
God, it's so funny to look at this, because the big thing about Hellblade 1, and to an extent 2 as well, is the reason that they're able to keep that game sort of small is because they don't really have a lot of characters. Like Hellblade 1 in particular, they really made enemies for Senua to fight, and Senua. Like, they didn't have to make a whole bunch of characters and animate a bunch of characters, so it's funny to go back to this and be like, oh, there's like tons of characters and enemies on screen at once, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. It's also worth noting that, I mean, the Hellblade and Heavenly Sword lore, narratively, etc., are not related. They do not overlap in any way. Heavenly Sword is just a total fantasy world that they created from the ground up. But the name Hellblade is a sort of subtle, fun reference to Heavenly Sword. It's like the antithesis of Heavenly Sword, Hellblade, which is something that they've acknowledged. Like, it's meant to be kind of a just a fun little reference,
I will say that when I heard Hellblade from the makers of Heavenly Sword, like when they first announced Hellblade, I was like, okay, this is going to be like another like high octane action game, and it's probably going to have like kind of a bit of like a Devil May Cry vibe, or maybe like a like kind of like senseless, like not super in-depth story. And boy, was I wrong! Like, the way they like thoughtfully approach like mental health issues and everything is not at all what I expected from a game called Hellblade from the creators of this game.
Of DMC and Heavenly Sword,
Yeah.
Are you not really Devil May Cry guy, right, Brian, in general?
I did play, again, the first few hours of the DMC that they did. Okay. But, like, yeah, when I heard, like, a game called Hellblade, I was like, oh, well, it's going to be along these lines. Stylish action, like, probably pretty loose story, but no. And I'm glad they went that route.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is a funky thing. You block in this game by not pressing any buttons. So like because I'm not doing anything, I'm technically blocking, which I just always thought was kind of an interesting idea, because the act of blocking in a video game is like a passive action. Like, you have to wait for it to happen. So it's kind of like, well, why not just make it when you're not doing anything? I think it works pretty well for this game.
It's like how in like Mortal Kombat you have to press a block button, but in Street Fighter you just go back.
Yeah.
Like you hold back in the
use the right.
So Jelly Banana 99 pointing out, it's weird how Hellblade became the subtitle for the second game, because it's Senua Saga Hellblade 2.
It is.
There's been a few times where that's happened. Like, I mean, you could even look at something. It's not exactly the same, but like Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link.
Yeah.
Like, they got rid of the Legend of Zelda, which is it the only mainline Zelda game that doesn't have the Legend of in it?
Yeah, I always joke. I think I joked in my Zelda book that I wrote that it's the only Zelda that isn't legendary. Because I'm so clever.
Do you think if they remade that game, we saw that the Prince of Persia developers said that they would remake Zelda, like that's like their dream game to remake would be Zelda 2.
Right.
And like I'm sure there's been plenty of speculation. Didn't Ocarina of Time start off as a Zelda 2 remake, like a 3D Zelda 2?
Actually, I don't know if I've ever heard that, but I believe that, yeah.
I wonder if they did that, if they would call it The Legend of Zelda: The Adventure of Link.
I bet they
would unify it.
I bet they would, yeah. I bet they sort of regret not calling it The Legend of Zelda. Either that or they had low confidence in it. They're like, I don't know about this one.
So if I recall correctly, and we always just get on the topic of Zelda. I mean, we're not playing Zelda this time, but like, if I recall correctly from my research on that episode of All Things Nintendo, like, it's the development of Ocarina of Time on like when it was the first time they were doing N64 stuff. It was a first person like action game, but then once you got into combat, the camera shifted to the side person view, so that's why it started off as kind of like a Zelda 2 remake.
The first person stuff. Yeah, I'm definitely familiar with that. This is interesting to play. Like, it actually, because it was when it came out, people kind of were calling it sort of colloquially Goddess of War because it was like a female protagonist, and it's and you know it's an action game, and I think even her swords can be like thrown, kind of like the chains of what are the chains of chaos? Is that what they're called? Blades of chaos. But I don't have camera control. It is the right control stick is used for dodging.
Interesting.
Which is God of War. That's how the first 3 God of War games work, and I'm like, oh yeah, what a weird thing.
Oscar Rio said, Kyle and Brian, yesterday I finally got Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door remake for the Nintendo Switch.
Congratulations.
Kyle reviewed that and gave it a pretty good score.
Yeah,
and
85. Look at this guy.
Read that review on GameInformer.com.
Where's this guy going? This guy's in a hurry.
He's hyping himself up.
He's like, we got to do this. I feel like that's...
Oh, he broke the circle.
Oh, he moved.
Oh, now he's doing the figure 8.
There's some dudes up here.
Jelly Banana says just getting his steps in.
What was that? Oh, just getting his steps. Yeah, they're really worried about steps in this era, even though this is a fantasy world.
Duke Faison checking in. Hello, Ninja Theory crew. Got on a little late. Forgot it's Friday because I'm on vacation.
Oh.
Well, hope you're having a great vacation.
Humble brag.
And Rexamillion 1979. The hair physics probably looked cool back then, but they just look obnoxious now.
I mean, I don't know. Look at that. That's pretty, like...
It looks cool in that, I think, but, like, when it's, like, the cutscenes... It's almost intense. Like in Lost Odyssey. I mean, we talked about that on this week's episode of All Things Nintendo very briefly, but, like, Lost Odyssey, there's the main character, I think his name's Kayam. Mm-hmm. He has a piece of, like, he has long hair, and it's really cool looking hair, but he has one strand of hair that's just forever glued to his forehead. And even, like, when he's, like, leaning over or whatever, like, it's just, like, glued to his forehead.
Oh, right,
down or anything. And it drives me insane. Even back then, it drove me insane.
God, it is funny to look at her hair. I mean, yeah, at the time, God, what year was... I gotta look up the year. This must have been... Was it, like, 2007 or something?
I think so, because it was very early on.
It was an early PS3 game. Yeah, 2007. I nailed it.
September 2007, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I thought this game looked amazing. I mean, I think it still looks good. That frame rate is pretty rough, especially for an action game like this. And it doesn't help that the opening sequence was that big battlefield, and it dropped like 10 frames a second in the first 5 minutes. It's like, oh boy.
Which also reminded me of Lost Odyssey. If you've ever played that, it has a really badass opening, and it's like in a big battlefield like that, and it's just kind of showing how powerful your character is. But oh my god, I'm just looking at like what Ninja Theory has done, and like I completely forgot that they worked on Disney Infinity.
That's right. Yeah, they did. They didn't do. I think they did the prequel content. I think perfectly.
Well, they did Marvel Superheroes. They worked on that, and then they worked on Disney Infinity 3.0, which was that the one that got canceled in development?
No, that's the Star Wars.
No, that's the one that came out. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Bleeding Edge. I forgot all about Bleeding Edge, as did most people the day after it came out.
Sadly, yeah. I like Ninja Theory a lot. They're one of those studios I will at least dabble with all their games. And I think I was in the beta for Bleeding Edge, and I was like, oof, this is just not for me, man. You know, I like it when you guys are story focused and doing funky stuff.
Yeah, Andrew Reiner reviewed that for us. He gave it a 6.75.
Yeah, not great. But yeah, I like Enslaved. I love Heavenly Sword. I really have a lot of affection for, and I mean, might be blasphemous. I'm sure people will maybe be upset. I don't know. I shouldn't assume anything. But like, my favorite Devil May Cry is Ninja Theory's Devil May Cry. I like Devil May Cry fine. It's never been a favorite of mine, which maybe is why Ninja Theory's entry resonated with me so much. But I just think that game is so clever and fun. And then they kind of that was the first Devil May Cry to have the sort of the push and pull ability that is now sort of like, you know, the follow-up Devil May Cry used that sort of ability. It's like a primary attack, and it's fun because it's like the literal push and pull of like, do I want this enemy to get away from me or pull them closer? That's all Ninja Theory stuff, you know.
So my favorite Devil May Cry is going to be the first one, actually.
Sure.
And then I think it was 2. 2's the bad one, right?
Yes, 2's the bad one.
Yeah. I remember I played 1 after borrowing it from a neighbor, and then I was like, oh, well, I have to play 2 because there's another one. And I think that was the only other one that was out at that point. So I played 2, and I was like, oh, maybe I don't like this series.
Man, similar, right? I borrowed 1 from a friend and played it and beat it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I was like working at GameStop at the time. Like I had just started that as a high school job. And I brought 2 home the day it came out. I was like, it's the new Devil May Cry. I got to get on top of this. And I played it and beat it. And I was like, that seemed all right. I don't know, that's okay. And then it was only like, in the following months that everyone was like, this game sucks. And I was like, oh, I don't know, it was all right. And then it came to Switch a couple of years ago. And I was like, it was like cheap. I was like, let me buy it and play it a little bit. I wonder if I like kind of like this game. And I remember playing it for like an hour and I was like, okay, now I'm just like shooting everything. I'm not even really I'm not even using my swords that much. I can't figure out where to go. It was pretty rough.
Kyle, Jelly Banana is asking a question here about Hellblade 2. Have you had a chance to play it yet?
Yeah, I'm probably like 4 hours in, something like that. Yeah.
From what I understand, that's almost the entire game.
Yeah, supposedly it's not very long, which is like I'm all about. Like this game's not very long either, by the way. Heavenly Sword, I think you can get through it in like 6 or 7 hours.
So Jelly Banana is saying, I've heard middling impressions of Hellblade 2. Have you guys played it? I really enjoyed the first one.
I mean, if you like the first one, like you will like this one. I have quite liked what I've played so far. But I mean, it's a tough game. It's like a brutal game in the sense that it's like you kind of have to be ready to commit. Oh boy, what am I doing here? Okay, you have to be ready to be like you're gonna have kind of a bad experience, sort of in the sense of like, that it's like it messes with your psyche. Like it's hard. It's like she's having a bad time, and that's the kind of the point of the game, you know. So you I have to kind of like be in a dark room and use headphones, which I don't usually do with video games. I'm not a big headphone player, and it's like, and you just kind of have to be ready for that, you know. All right.
Yeah, I don't know about the headphones thing because I have like a decent like sound bar. There's a guy coming.
I know. I wanted to get him, but let's hold the tilt. Okay, yeah, this is the other weird.
Oh!
I do have 6-axis on, so I can't do that. I usually turn it off right away, but I mean, come on, we gotta do it right here. This is fun. All right, here we go. Come on. Jeez, how many guys? Okay, I missed one. All right. So, here I can. Oh, here, let's see. So I can. Oh, Jesus, 6-axis, no good. All right, let's see. What's the best way to do this?
You're saying motion controls are not the future of gaming?
Not yet. It's funny, I play VR games now, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Motion controls have gotten really effective and good, you know? But it's like, I still sort of associate them with stuff like this, where I'm like, I just like it's like, it's so hard to use.
We have another highlighted message from Oscar, who says, Kyle and Brian, please just call me Oscar. All right. Also, next month is the Summer of Video Games with the Video Games Conference from Xbox Game Studio Direct, Summer Game Fest, Ubisoft Forward, and also Nintendo Direct. And the releases of Monster Hunter Stories, Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, and also Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon HD. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Luigi's Mansion 2 is coming out.
It's a pretty solid stretch. It's one of those years, it's not like 2023 where we have like just unbelievable huge game after unbelievable huge game, but it's been a very solid stretch. It's more of a marathon than like a series of sprints like we got last year.
I feel like I'm doing really like just awful at this section. Like I feel like I'm not killed. Like everyone's just shows up. Like I guess it's like really wants me to. Oh god, I cannot use the 6-axis stuff. I guess I could turn it off. Cause like I can't shoot at a certain point. Like that guy's just he got through. I've missed so many of these guys now.
And then Warner G123 also has a highlighted message. It was so early in the PS3 life that it didn't even have trophies. The PSN didn't even exist.
I wonder if I can. Let's see. Camera aftertouch. I want the aftertouch on. I just don't want the motion controls. Motion sensors. Oh, so you can have the motion sensor on for the camera. Combat on. Okay, I don't know. I'll keep messing with things. This I might have to redo this like shooter section. We'll see.
Spike 7977 also highlighted a message, all caps, but
Okay. All right, thank you.
Agreed on all fronts. We got. Duke Faison went exactly where my mind went. Don't you mean butts with a Z? That's
there we go.
Old school replay joke right there.
So I think what happened is because I did so bad as Kai intercepting these soldiers, I just now have to fight them all. Is basically what it comes down to. So that's not so bad. Yeah, to talk more on like Heavenly Sword and Ninja Theory and its interesting route. So they made Heavenly Sword, which was a Sony exclusive, right? Sony funded this game. This was a PlayStation 3 system seller kind of game. And then after that, they worked with Alex Garland, who's a big director now, on Enslaved, Odyssey to the West, which is another game I quite love. And talking to Garland, knock down enemies can be attacked. Okay. He was like sort of flabbergasted that the way that the game industry worked at that point, and still does to a degree, is like Ninja Theory got hired to make Enslaved and Heavenly Sword, for Sony or whoever. I think Bandai Namco published Enslaved, and but that was in terms of like the intellectual property, the world, the characters they created, all that stuff. It belonged to the publisher fully, right? Like Team Ninja Theory does not have any stake in Heavenly Sword in 2024. Like, they worked on it, they made it, but like they don't own Heavenly Sword. They don't own Enslaved Odyssey to the West. And apparently, supposedly, it was Alex Garland who wrote the script for Enslaved Odyssey to the West, who was the one that was like, that's ridiculous. Like, you guys are making this stuff fully. It should belong to you. Like, that's how it works in other entertainment mediums. The author gets the rights to the books. Sometimes,
nowadays it does.
Yeah, sometimes the director, owns, it's not always, right? Like, James Cameron has ownership. Well, he doesn't have ownership over Avatar, I guess. But then that was, like, the sort of incentive for them to be like, oh, well, let's try kickstarting Hellblade so that we will own this world and these characters that we're creating. So that, like, we are not in a position anymore where we're just, like, for hire making games that we're passionate about but just don't have any follow-up with. And yeah, Hellblade 1 was a success, but at this point, I actually don't know the answers. Like, does Microsoft own Hellblade? Like,
Probably.
Do they own that property now? They probably do,
Well,
right?
Jelly Banana 99 says Microsoft better not shut them down, which
Yeah, I hope not.
I mean, anything's possible at this point, I
Right.
feel like. But we have some chats to catch up on here.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Let's see. Duke Faison says, Kyle, do you still have your special cupboard studio room, in quotes? Maybe you could play the game in there in peace.
And for Hellblade?
Yeah.
No, I have a proper office now. I had a little closet where I would do recording in the past.
I remember that.
But, yeah.
Duke Faison earlier also said, did you know that this game almost got a sequel with the face-painted weirdo girl? Hellblade was kind of a spiritual successor to this game.
Yes. Yeah. So we were just talking about that a couple minutes ago. Yeah, that's the name Hellblade and Heavenly Sword. They sort of are in partnership in a way.
Yeah. Beaten Down Brian says, I liked Hellblade 2. It's gorgeous and improves on most aspects of the first, except for combat, which is a little less mechanically interesting. Ultimately, I enjoyed it, and it finishes strong, but felt like a less necessary story. Fair enough.
Yeah, I want to play more of it. I definitely want to finish it.
Let's see, getting to the bottom here.
Yeah, I wonder if Ninja Theory would ever want to return to Heavenly Sword, if that was an opportunity for them. Because the game is set up in such a way, if I remember correctly, it's been a while, that it wasn't like wholly conclusive in the way Hellblade 1 was, where like it felt like there were still more adventures to be had in Heavenly Sword with these characters. But at this point, I don't know if they're like, I don't know if they'd want to. It's kind of a goofy fantasy world. I don't know if that's of interest to them these days.
I would like to see like this with like the Hellblade tech though, because that stuff, it looks so good.
Yeah, if they announced that they were remaking Heavenly Sword, I would be really excited about that. Because especially like going back to it like literally today, the sort of, I was like, ooh, I would love to play this at 60. Like, I'm not usually a frame rate weirdo in that way. I shouldn't say weirdo. Frame rates are
You're
people.
a bit of a frame rate weirdo. Let's be honest.
Like, you were asking me about Paper Mario and people complaining about it being 30, and I was like, I never even thought about it. But here, it's pretty rough. This could use some shine, I think.
Also, I don't know how to like describe it, but like games of this era all have like this weird like bloom, like light bloom around all the characters.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's everything from like this game to like Crackdown, like so many games from this era. Like the characters have like, it's like the lighting just doesn't interact with the character models in the right way, or like they have like a weird like almost like glowing outline around the characters, and it drives me crazy. It's my least favorite part of like this generation of gaming.
Yeah,
like, it makes it the hardest for me to go back and play a game from like Xbox 360 and PS3.
It was like lighting for the sake of lighting. I don't know if there was a technical reason. It was just like maybe it helped with rendering or something. But
I don't know. But I just think maybe they had like all these dynamic lighting systems in place, but the character models didn't interact properly with the lighting system.
Yeah. It just looks fuzzy,
we have Oscar.
Right?
Oscar with another question. He says, Brian, I have a question for you. What do you think of the announcement of Nintendo about the successor of Nintendo Switch that is going to be revealed this fiscal year that ends March 2025? So, Kyle, we've talked about this a little bit, but you know, I think that's, you know, in line with what we've been hearing for a while, is that they are going to announce something not going to be announced in June, they've said, which was originally the speculations that we might hear something during like kind of their June Nintendo Direct, but they've announced there is a June Nintendo Direct, and it is going to cover the second half of 2024 for Switch, and then in the future we will learn more about the Switch's successor. Look at this, great shot.
That was motion controlled. All right, let's see. I'm kind of like trying to hold the controller like flat and see if that helps a little bit.
But I think that what we're hearing is going to be probably pretty accurate. Like, I think it's going to be very similar to the Switch. I think it's going to be more iterative than it is going to be like revolutionary. But they may have some additional features. I mean, even the president of Nintendo, Furukawa, said, "Good shot! You destroyed that thing."
I'm holding the controller like Star Fox Wii U. Like, I got like, you know, that's the way you have to play that game.
So even Furukawa at Nintendo was like, what does he say? Like, next Nintendo Switch model is the right way to frame it or something. So, like, I think that everything's going to, I mean, I don't have any insider information in these claims, but, like, I think everything's going to be backwards compatible. I think everything is going, whoa, you missed and you still did damage.
No, I still did some stuff. I'm trying to get it.
I think that it's going to be still a hybrid console, and, you know, I think that they're going to just make it more powerful, which would be amazing. Like, I think that it's entirely likely that the Gamescom demos that took place, or allegedly took place last year, are accurate, and that they were showing like Breath of the Wild running at 60 FPS, which sign me up for that immediately if that is something that they are interested in doing.
Yeah. I mean, that's that's the new HD, right? Is the frame rate.
I wonder if they're going to do what Xbox has done, in that, like, if you own the old game and it is backwards compatible on the new system, they just give you like the feature boost, or are they going to make us buy like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom again to get like the new gen version?
I mean, they'll probably make us buy them again.
That's Nintendo, I guess, but I'm hoping that they just give you like a frame rate boost or something for the original games, because that would be infuriating. I think a lot of people would be really, really upset about that.
Yeah, I would be okay with spending like a little like upgrade fee. I wouldn't be too upset about that, but that gets into that kind of complicated thing that like Nintendo likes to avoid, where it's like well, if you own the game you can go and spend this money, but it's like, wouldn't it be easier to just sell people a whole new game? Like, it's just more, it's simpler, you know?
They did do that for the Wii U Virtual Console, moving from the Wii to the Wii U.
Yeah.
Remember, like, you could spend, it was like 90 cents to upgrade each individual Virtual Console game that you owned on Wii to Wii U.
And that was complicated, right? Like,
it was very complicated.
I took advantage of that, but like, I can't imagine many other people did, honestly, you know? Like, and I think that they probably just saw that as a bust. Like, that was probably a failed experiment to them.
So, Spike7977 said, before this, what was Ninja Theory known for? How did Sony land on them as making a big system seller? And they made one game prior to this, and it was Kung Fu Chaos for the Xbox in 2003.
A game I also played, it's a party game, is what it is. I don't know, honestly. Like, if I were Sony, I wouldn't have played Kung Fu Chaos and been like, all right, well, obviously they need to make, a story-driven cinematic video game with Hollywood's Andy Serkis. Like, that's clearly the next step for these people, Like, that's a great question that I don't know the answer to. I gotta kill 700? Jeez. I guess I should be shooting faster. What am I doing here? I kept trying to do, like, individual hits when this is, like, so much better. Oh,
yeah,
no,
you were trying to
get my
do...
friends! That might be... I don't know if that's gonna,
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Hey, you know what? Frame
This
rate
is what is
okay.
impressive.
Yeah. I mean, this was the big thing for this generation early on, was, like, look how many characters we can put on screen. Like, I remember Cameo Elements of Power, an Xbox 360 launch title. That was the big thing about that game, is like, we can put a bunch of enemies on screen at once. And we're like, alright, that's cool.
And giant enemy crabs.
Giant enemy crabs. Well, that was Sony's thing.
Yeah. Jelly Banana said, casually mass murdering 700 people.
This is a pretty good weapon. Like, I'm doing a lot of damage here just by myself.
I don't know how... I mean, you're getting pretty close to 700. You're at 613, 615.
But this is actually running pretty well right now. This is running better than the opening sequence. Here we go, 700.
Well, they are further away.
I guess that's
They
true.
probably don't have as many details on them. Maybe they do. Who knows? Might be the same model. Tucker Donovan saying, was this Ninja Theory's first game? No, Kung Fu Chaos was the only game they put out before this. That was 4 years prior.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh, cutscene.
That was awkward.
They used to have to cut to black. They don't have to do that anymore, Brian. I remember I think I did an interview with Druckmann talking about Uncharted 4 back in the day, and that was like a big thing in that interview. He was like, a big thing that we've been able to pull off in Uncharted 4 is we don't have to cut to black between gameplay and cutscene anymore. And it is like a subtle thing that you don't really notice unless you're thinking about it. But yeah, this era is like there would always be a cut to black. But especially now pick up objects. Hellblade is all...
Throw it at those guys.
Press X to... Oh, see?
Whoa!
I hit one guy. Okay.
Dude, this rules.
I like how she does a flip to, like, grab the box. That's pretty fun.
Whoa, that guy just, like, materialized.
Here we go. Boom, boom, boom. See, I would love to see this at 60. Is there a mod out there? Is anybody modding this game?
There has to be if it's on PC.
It's not. It's only PlayStation 3 exclusive. And one of those games that like the Metal Gear like Metal Gear Solid 4 like only exists on PS3. I don't think you can even play it because what's the backwards compatibility deal with PS4?
There's
none whatsoever, right?
Yeah. You have to play. I mean, there's some games that they've moved over, but PS3 notoriously difficult to develop for and port over after it's been developed. It was so unique. The architecture for that was just like a disaster. I mean, and same thing for Wii U. Wii U was notoriously difficult to develop for, and that's one of the big things that they tried to accomplish with the Switch was let's make it really easy for developers to make games for this, and look how it paid off.
Oh, see, this is cool. It's got like picture-in-picture stuff.
Jelly Banana saying that Metal Gear Solid 4 is on PS Now potentially, or is Jelly Banana saying it? Heavenly Sword is on PS Now.
Maybe this is on PS Now. I could see that because that's just. Yeah.
But natively, there is no way to play this on modern systems.
And it's like I think they're just like done with it, right? It's like I don't think there's a big clamoring outside of me on this stream for like, oh, bring back Heavenly Sword, Sony. You know, I sadly I think that like that will never happen. And Ninja Theory, I don't know, are they passionate about Heavenly Sword? Would they want to bring Heavenly Sword back? I don't know. They did make a straight to DVD movie, Heavenly Sword movie, which I've never watched.
What kind of fan are you?
I know. I actually we had it in the Game Informer vault for many years, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this. And Brian, I just had it in my bag for like 2 years. Like I would always just have it in my bag. I would take it back and forth from the office. And I was like, I'm gonna watch this someday. it's got like some Hollywood actors in it. I think Alfred Molina plays the
nice.
character Andy Serkis played. It's an
They're
animated
interchangeable.
movie. It's an animated movie, but it was supposed to be terrible. And I liked Heavenly Sword so much that I was like, I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to like have this other version of Heavenly Sword because I think it's just an adaptation of the game story. What a weird thing. These guys are blocking too much.
Duke Faison says, they said Metal Gear Solid 4 was almost available on Xbox 360, but they scrapped it. If there's an MGS4 that's not PS3 exclusive, there might be a chance we get it in a Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2. I think that it would be absurd if they put out Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 and we did not get MGS4 on it. Like, I think that if they can't figure it out, they might as well not even bother with Volume 2.
Truly. I mean, genuinely, I agree with you. It's like that's the major selling point of a potential follow-up collection. And if it's not there, then... I mean, there's other Metal Gear games I would love to see in a collection, but if you don't anchor it with Metal Gear Solid 4, it's silly. You guys need to stop blocking. Can I throw something at you guys? Let's see.
Oscar is asking about the Nintendo World Championships NES edition. Do you see that announcement, Kyle?
Yeah. No, that's fun. I'm
Basically
not,
looks like NES Remix, but like speedrun edition.
A game that should be on Switch, to be clear.
Seriously, and I wish they would do SNES Remix.
Yeah, that would be. I'm more of a Super Nintendo kid. I never had an NES.
Same here. Yeah, I would love.
There we go. Jesus.
SNES Remix, but yeah, any Nintendo World Championships NES edition looks super cool. I think that's a fun addition to the tail end of the Switch's life cycle.
Yeah, I'll mess with that. That seems fun. God, that hair. Look at that hair. One thing I noticed playing Hellblade
Medusa
is her hair. She has like one long ponytail, and it's like a weird thing to be impressed by, but like it never gets anywhere close to clipping. There is no clipping in Hellblade 2 Senua's Sacrifice like anywhere. Or what is it? Actually, I forgot.
Senua Saga.
There we go, Senua Saga. Which is like, that's the thing that I feel like, for the most, beautiful and impressive video games, I still, like, the clipping still happens so often. Like, characters, like, holster a gun and, like, the stock just, like, goes into their hip, and it's like...
Yeah.
It just seems like this really difficult to solve issue. But Hellblade, like, I haven't seen anything phase through anything else in a way that I'm really blown away by. Where they got it all out of their system here because, like, her hair is just, like, going crazy. This is one of those games where if they, like, did a simple, like, a quick port to, like, PS4 or 5 or something like that, it would probably be one of those situations where, like, the hair physics would just be even worse because, like, this is where they were able to get it on PS3, but if the game suddenly ran on stronger hardware, the hair would be, like, going insane, It
would be too powerful.
Like, yeah, I remember on an old episode of Replay back in the day, we played the Blair Witch Project, which were these, like, 2 PC games that came out. And it was like, what happened was, it was like, clearly we were running it on far more advanced soft hardware than it was ever supposed to be run on. And, like, characters' clothes were just, like, flapping like crazy. Like, it was insane. Like, it was so bizarre. And I'm sure that's what would be happening here with her hair.
God, that would be worth it, honestly.
Guided to their target. I really don't want to use Aftertouch if I can help it. Do I have to? I like Aftertouch, where it's like you control stuff after you throw it. I just don't want to do it with motion controls,
Hey, you were the motion control guy for Breath of the Wild.
I do. I like the motion controls in Breath of the Wild. That's true. Yeah, I keep those on Tears of the Kingdom as well. It's funny because my wife played without motion controls, and sometimes I would grab the controller from her or help her with something, and it would throw me off. It would confuse me. But then Splatoon, I could never get the hang of motion controls, even though that's another one that everyone was like, that's the way to play the game.
Everybody tells me, like, oh, well, Splatoon, you got to play with the motion controls. And, like, that's the first thing I did was turn that off.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, honestly. Like, I liked it in Breath of the Wild because I could really fine-tune my aiming. Like, I could aim better with motion controls in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom than I could with just using the right control stick. So I get it, but Splatoon, I could just never quite get it. I could never get the hang of it. All right, here's Andy Serkis' character, who is this like this game is so weird. The thing I like about this game is like he's the bad guy, but he's such a weird goofball. He's so strange. Like it is like the thing that Ninja Theory likes to do is let actors like really act the hell out of whatever they're doing. And like Andy Serkis was like, you know, this is like I said, post Lord of the Rings, but he's Mr. Motion Capture. He still is to this day. And like, yeah, like that little sequence right there where it zooms in on his face and he's like, like that's the kind of thing where I bet Ninja Theory was just like, look, we're trying something here. We're doing some weird stuff. Make this guy weird. Make weird faces. Like, we want to try to figure this stuff out. And he really leans into it. And I think he's like a really fun villain. I think he's cool.
This is what would have happened if Gollum got the ring.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then he's
the Lord of the Rings alternate universe sequel.
And then he's in Enslaved as well. He plays Monkey, and he's much more grounded and serious in that. Monkey is a very serious character, but this guy is just like he's Bugs Bunny basically.
I don't know. Have you seen One Piece? He's pretty over the top.
Wait, what's the joke?
Monkey.
Oh, Monkey D. Luffy. He doesn't go by Monkey, Brian. No one calls him Monkey. So by the way, I know you're invested, Brian. What's happening here is she was trying to protect her tribe's sacred sword, the Heavenly Sword, but not use it. Like that's you're getting into danger territory if you're using the Heavenly Sword, because I believe it like sucks your soul out of your body or something. And so she has committed to use it now in order to save her father. So this is a big deal, and I don't think you're grasping the seriousness of the situation, Brian. You see, you just don't.
Well, let's see it. Let's see what the Heavenly Sword can do. Master it.
Look at that. It splits.
So
into
all these
two
guys
pieces.
are just like standing around and like watching you do this.
Yeah, look at me, everybody. Okay, the Heavenly Sword can be used in 3 ways: speed, range, and power. We'll play for another 10 minutes or so. And speed Stantner. Okay, do moderate damage. Okay. Trying to think of, was DMC Devil May Cry, was that what generation was that? Was that an Xbox 360 PS3 game?
I think so.
Okay.
No, it's PS4, Xbox One.
What? Okay. Really? Are you you're sure? DMC.
Well, I mean, it was. Oh, wait a sec. This is why Wikipedia is just not the way to go. No, it was PS3 and Xbox 360,
Okay.
but then re-released 2 years later for PS4 and Xbox One. That's
Okay,
why
cool.
I'm confused.
Yeah, they did have a good, like, you know, follow-up version, which Capcom likes to do, you know, which they added a bunch of stuff. But that game, so same generation, and that game runs a lot better than this. I don't know if they just, you know, got the hang of the tech, or maybe Capcom was able to help them out a little bit more. In range stance, Noriko can attack multiply. Okay, all right, I remember this. Now, see, this is the real Goddess of War stuff here that we're getting into now. If it'll let me get past the tutorial here, this is something that Hellblade would never do. Throw text on screen as like a tutorial. It would be like,
Hey,
no.
You live and you learn, just like Sonic Adventure 2.
When knocked in the air, Noriko can recover and attack enemies. Shake the 6-axis trademark controller. But yeah, you see that, Brian? Like, I have, see how it's on chains.
Yeah.
So like that's very, very God of War, which I don't think was their intention. It was just circumstance. And it just turns out that having swords on the end of chains to attack enemies is a fun way to play an action game. I don't know.
So hot. It was such a big thing back then.
I mean, honestly, like when I know there's like Devil May Cry purists and Bayonetta and stuff like that, but I think to this day, the original God of War trilogy is my favorite combat because it is big and wide and sweeping, and you can like throw the chains out in these big, huge moves. I love that stuff. Where Bayonetta and Devil May Cry are more focused on like one-on-one close encounter combos and stuff like that. Right.
Yeah, I remember the first time I played. Oh no, is this a QTE? No.
No. It's like I charged up a move where I could execute using circle. Let's see. Do I have more of that? No. Okay, I have to like charge that up.
That's what that guy was doing. The NPC he was running in circles to charge up his circle attack.
Nice. I gotta charge up my circles. There we go. Why this guy keeps blocking? Okay.
Like, shield enemies, can we just agree that they are the absolute worst part of any action game?
I hate you just have to wait. Like it just slows down the action so much. I mean I recognize the advantage of like, oh, we got to mix it up. You got to try a new strategy against this guy, but like, I don't know, shields like I don't like waiting, you know? With blue
Duke,
R's? Oh, I missed that.
Duke Faison says, Brian, I haven't seen you in a while. How long have you had the cop stash? How dare you? I had it about 16 hours. I shaved it last night. It may survive the weekend. It may not.
Yeah, mine's not going to survive the afternoon, I don't think.
Jelly Banana says, does this game have any puzzle elements, or is it mostly combat?
It's mostly arena combat. You show up, you watch a cutscene, you got to fight a bunch of enemies in that one spot for a little while. You do play as Kai occasionally, which is like, I think is the character's name Nariko. I think
Nariko, yeah.
Nariko. Sure, it's like her adopted sister, and she has a couple of sequences where you play as her, and it's a little bit different. And I have a vague memory of maybe like having to unlock some doors and stuff as her, but as Nariko, yeah, you're pretty much just combat. See, I like this system where it's like, okay, so if I hold down L1, I get these big, they don't do as much damage, but I get the big, wide, sweeping chain attacks to take on a bunch of enemies at once. And then I have, like, I'm not holding any buttons to kind of do just like a middling, sort of some speed attack, but if I hold R1, she combines the two pieces of the sword into one big thing and can do these big, powerful, slow moves. Like, see how she's, like, dragging the sword around like that? I like how it's like you can switch between the stances by just holding down a button. Like Ninja Theory is good at like action combat like this. And Hellblade has some of it, but it's just not really what they're interested in doing so much anymore.
That would suck, like to get cut into with a sword. I would hate that.
Yeah, dude, that's a good point. And you know,
Especially ones on like the ends of chains.
One of the things about Hellblade 2 is it is the most gruesome, like sword attacks like ever in any video game, right? Because like usually it's like this, I'm just hitting square a bunch and the enemies are kind of flying around, but like Hellblade 2 with its sort of crazy fidelity, like you see the damage you're doing with the sword when you attack enemies, and it's brutal. Like it's rough, you know. You hear the squelching of the stabs.
Ninja Gaiden 3 sucks, but there is
that the
a
bad
mechanic.
People don't like Ninja Gaiden 3? Is that right?
Yeah, it's bad. But like, you know, and the first two were pretty well received. The first one in particular.
People love that first
But like,
one.
there is an aspect where you take the sword and like you put it into like your enemy's stomach, and you have to like mash the button to like cut, like basically like push the sword through them, and it's just like, wow, that's unnecessarily brutal.
Oh, did you see that?
And like
Brian?
while you're doing, yeah, I did.
I could pick up a body. I didn't know I could do that. I'm gonna try to do that again.
Yeah, but while you're pushing through the body, like just blood is spurting everywhere as you're like pressing the button as fast as you can to press the sword through the body, and that was kind of a cool, I guess we'll call that innovation.
Hyper-violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on with Ninja Gaiden? They weren't going to do any more of those? I guess they're focused on Neo and original games. They don't really need to do a Ninja Gaiden, I guess.
Yeah, we've been talking about Team Ninja so much.
I've never beaten the original Ninja Gaiden. When it came out, it was really popular among the sort of gamer people I was hanging out with. But I was always terrible at it. I could never, like, I got past the first boss, and, like, that was as far as I could get.
Yeah, so in 2021, we got Ninja Gaiden Master Collection. Yeah. And then that was right after Neo 2. But I forgot that they did Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Oh, right. Yeah, that is them, isn't it?
Yeah, and the Dead or Alive games. Fire Emblem Warriors, co-developed with Omega Force. I didn't realize they co-developed that.
Yep, okay. Did they do Hyrule? Were they involved with Hyrule Warriors as well?
No.
Okay, just Fire Emblem. All right.
However, their last 3 games, actually there's 4 games, but we'll skip over Atelier, name I can't pronounce, and do Rise of the Ronin, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, and Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin.
Right, I forgot about Stranger of Paradise, yeah. A game that I started but never got into.
I bought it because it was on sale somewhat recently, and I was like, I'll play this eventually, and I have not.
Yeah, but you're not a Souls guy, though, right?
No, but I'm a Final Fantasy guy.
That is true. Brian Final Fantasy Shea, we call you.
That's what you call me. It's better than the other nicknames you have for me. Holly Spice Wolf checking in. Hi, Brian. Hi, Kyle.
Hello.
Duke Faison. Quick message to Kyle. This week I remembered I had a colleague at a workplace where I used to work 10 years ago, and I'm working there again currently. I kind of liked this colleague. Oh. And when you showed up at GI, I felt sympathy because you reminded me of this guy, both visually, but mostly the voice. It's weird that I haven't thought of this connection in a while, but this week it just popped in my mind.
Okay, so someone that you used to work with that you're now working again, I remind you of them, or vice versa. Okay. These cool moves. Get out of there, Naruko.
Three days ago.
All right, yeah, you're like building up to the present. Because you have like debates with the sword and stuff. It's weird.
Oh, so it's like Venom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it just takes
exactly.
a part of you, and you have debates with it, and yeah.
Yeah, she's like arguing with the sword.
Oh god, the hair physics.
And look at her, the fabric of her clothing is like shaking. This is like some real like, alright actor, do some acting. We'll film you with this digital camera.
Who played? Is this like a well-known voice actor?
Gosh, I don't know.
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah,
I'm
look it
gonna
up.
look this up.
I wonder if if you look up it on IMDb,
Maybe
I wonder if the
IMDb.
movie comes up first. Okay, yeah, there's two entries. There's one for the video game and one for the 2014 is when that movie came out. Oh my god.
It really did.
Anna Torv. Do I know Anna Torv from anything other than Heavenly Sword? The Last of Us, she played Tess. Okay.
Okay.
She'd be doing
But it was the
stuff.
TV series. It was the TV series, not the game.
Oh, okay. All right.
All
right. Interesting.
And she was on 100 episodes of Fringe.
I never watched Fringe.
Nor did I.
Mindhunter, that's the David Fincher show, right? Isn't it, I think?
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I never watched Mindhunter, but I need to. I should.
And she appeared in one episode of College Humor Originals.
Right before Heavenly Sword. Okay, so who is that? Okay, I wanted to look at the movie too. So here's the movie, I think. Yeah, she played Naruko in the movie as well. Okay, yeah, and then look at that, Alfred Molina as King Bohan. Yeah, Nolan North is in the movie apparently.
Wow.
Thomas Jane, Loki. I don't remember Loki being in the game.
Thomas Jane.
TJ, we call
Punisher
him.
himself?
The Punisher himself.
3 Punishers ago.
Don't
Rest
eat
in
the
peace,
worm, Kai.
Ray
That's
Stevenson.
gross.
Oh, Kai.
Kai's funny.
Why we don't take you places.
She has a line I'll always remember where I remember exactly what it was. But someone's like wants a password to get past a door, and they're like, "What's the password?" And she goes, "Monkey Peaches." And I always remember that. If you've played Heavenly Sword, you know what I'm talking about.
Remember when Thomas Jane accidentally stabbed Kevin Nash for real in that fight scene in The Punisher?
No, I don't think I ever heard about
There's
that.
a scene where he's fighting Kevin Nash, playing a different character, and they gave him the sword to stab him, and he actually stabs him with a real sword. Like when you see the movie, you are seeing him getting stabbed in the chest with a real sword because
Did he think it was
they
a
gave him
prop sword or something?
Or not a sword, a knife.
Okay.
So they gave him a real knife by accident. They meant to give him the prop knife, and but they just kept going with it. And he's like a professional wrestler, so he's like, all right, cool, let's keep going, I guess.
I guess when you make a movie, you just get stabbed sometimes.
But yeah, there's literally on camera Kevin Nash being stabbed by Thomas Jane, and he just kind of pulls it out.
Boy.
It's as scary and haunting as it sounds.
Okay, this is I do want to look at we can wrap up replay today, but this was the shot that was in all the trailers. I think there was even this is a really specific thing, but there's a scene in the TV show Heroes where there's a character playing Heavenly Sword in the background. And like this is the shot that they use because it's really damn cool. Like her jumping between the ropes like this, and like dodging and like running. Yeah, like it's cool. I understand why it was like the trailer shot. You know, like these big ropes like whipping into the air. Like come on, this is pretty cool, right?
I mean, conceptually, yeah. And then you realize like all this cool stuff is happening, and it's just you're like mashing a button.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. I'm happy with it. I'm cool with it. I'm alright with it. But yeah, that's like the big shot. Like, I actually remember seeing trailers for this game and going in before movies, which is kind of wild to me to still see, like, occasionally I'll see a trailer for a game and a movie. I remember seeing a Majora's Mask trailer before a movie once back in the day.
What?
Yeah. It was the scene in the beginning where he's, like, walking up in the forest on the horse, and I was like, whoa, this is wild to see an N64 game on a theater screen. But, yeah, so anyway, that was the scene that was in the trailer.
I'm sure it looked great.
Yeah, it looked fantastic. Hey, that's Heavenly Sword, which is a game that I really have a lot of affection for. I really like Heavenly Sword, and I like Ninja Theory. Like I said, they're a studio that I will play all their games. I don't know if I'll love them. I don't know if I'll beat all of them. But whatever Ninja Theory is doing, I'm going to investigate it and be curious about. And that started with Heavenly Sword, because I really had a good time with Heavenly Sword. But yeah, I would love a 60 FPS version of this because the frame rate is really holding it back in 2024 for sure.
Speaking of Ninja Theory, didn't Tamim recently leave Ninja Theory?
Yeah, he left. It was something like 2 years ago or something. Like he was
2 years ago, really?
Yeah, I could be wrong about that timeline. Feel free to correct me, but he has not been with Ninja Theory for a while. I don't think he was super involved with Hellblade 2 after a certain point. But yeah, he was like co-founder, if not singular founder.
I mean, he left a month ago, according to...
Oh, was it? Okay, apologies. I thought it was much more further away than that. I didn't realize it was so recent.
I mean, unless he left before, but it looks like the first public indication was a Hellblade 2 Polygon preview from a month ago.
Okay, then apologies. I could totally be wrong, but because now I thought maybe when that story came out, his response, I thought he tweeted something of like, yeah, I haven't been there for a while.
I mean, maybe, but
yeah. So yeah, don't quote me on the timeline. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, he was. I don't know. Who knows why he left? Maybe he's just ready to retire. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm still playing Hellblade, and then I'm curious to see what's next for Ninja Theory. Supposedly, their next project has already been approved and is in development, which bodes well for its long-term sort of health at Microsoft. Fingers crossed. But yeah, Heavenly Sword, man, it's a cool game. I would totally be okay with them revisiting it in the future someday. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Thanks for joining me, Brian. Thanks for checking out Heavenly Sword.
Thanks for sharing one of your favorites with me, Kyle. I don't think I've ever seen this game in action in any meaningful way outside of like trailers.
Yeah, it's a cool action game. I mean, it definitely, Goddess of War was sort of the joke for it when it came out, but I mean, it's in conversation with those games for sure. Of just a great third-person action game with a cool story, So,
yeah.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week. We should be back with more Zelda next week, so we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.